So in this video, I'm going to show what would be a demo of a vending machine, though using the Xilinx KRIA uh, controller. Uh, though unfortunately, I was not receiving any sort of result, as I will show in this video.
So I am currently having an issue with my PMOD inputs, and to show this is as simple as possible. Is that I pretty much have something simple running here where I have an ongoing loop here, right? And basically what I'm saying is that if confirm my input signal is high, then I'm going to print out hello, and my output LED is going to be off, right? And then if confirm is low, right, my input signal, then I'm gonna then print goodbye with my output LED being high, right? And in this circuit here, a very simple circuit, I have this is being my output LED. This is gonna be ground, of course, and then this is my output signal, right? And then on this side here, I have this being VCC connected to my switch here. And then this yellow here being my input signal, okay? And then, of course, from this resistor to this LED to signify that at least I'm getting a signal here that is either high or low, right? So, of course, if I have it as high, there it is, and then low, of course, the LED is off, right? As you can see, I already have, this is my dilemma. I have a high input signal, and it's clearly a high input signal, right? I have high input signal, and that output LED is not turning off, right? And to show that we have at least coded correctly, I'm going to show that my confirm. So I'm going to show my confirm, because we're using confirm and SEL select LED2, right? So I've selected LED2 as pin 4 and my confirm on pin 0, right? So pin 0 is basically on top, on the bottom, right? So I basically have 0 being my confirm signal, being this one here, and then my 4 being below, and this one is being my output signal, right? So everything looks fine, but it's not fine. And I do not know why. Again, clearly my input signal is not operating properly.
So even though we didn't actually properly represent the vending machine through the breadboard, I'm still going to show the process of that I took to try to create the vending machine. Okay, so first we would using the Jupyter Lab. It would allow us to communicate from the microcontroller, which then depends on the server, uh, to to um, to operate. Um, and so using the server, we would be able to uh, access the library py1q, which basically generally allows us to use the input and output pins that we would be able to designate. And this here allows us to create like a bit stream for whatever classes we create. Um, and so of course here we're just inputting the libraries, and then we need time because there's going to be some we're going to be using sleep a good amount of times, so there's significant delay. And in this section here, um, we're gonna we're gonna have our inputs where we're gonna have dollar and quarters, right, as our specific inputs, And these inputs are is what the user will put to designate if how much cash they're going to put in for whatever snack that they want, right? And going over the select and confirm inputs, the select is basically going to depend on these 2 bits LEDs, where we're going to go from 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and then 1, 1. Where select LED 1 is going to be MSB. And so basically, as the user keeps on selecting, it's going to routinely update and move on to the next state, and then reset, and then move on to the next state. And so that would be our select, right? And then this confirm is very important because one of the purposes that we're going to be using confirm is to make sure that the user has already set their amount, right? And then once the user had already set their amount, then we would confirm, and then we would then allow the user to select what type of food that they want. All right. And then once confirming, then we would then represent the output from with change, and do like a little song with the different frequencies. Right. So that's essentially what would be occurring throughout this vending machine, right? And so first, we're going to be signifying our type of uh, our types of functions that we're going to be using. So this is the play sound function, which allows us to input a frequency, and based on this frequency, we would then turn it off at that specific frequency so that we can hear that specific frequency, right? So in here, of course, we're gonna represent our period, and then half of this period is going to be the time high um, duration, in a sense. And so throughout our recorded duration here, which is this value here, 100, with this we would be able to set it high, and then for some time, and then set it low for some time, and then that allows us to play around with the frequency for the specific duration. And in this select system function, I first initialized LED1 and select LED2 to be 0, 0, as we're going to want to, in this function, go from 0, 0 to 1, 1, and rotate it and constantly update. So what I have here is I declared our confirm signal, so that my program is at least aware of this confirm signal. Um, and then we're going to start with this update 1 here. And so, and here I'm going to have a while loop where if there's no confirm, then we're just going to be looping here and trying to find what the user wants to eat from our vending machine, right? And it's going to be looping as the confirm signal is low. If it turns high, then that's when confirm is going to go through, and then that's when we're going to move on to our following function that we'll see in a bit in the specific case. But in any case, as we're looping in this while function here, we're going to be selecting. So it's going to continuously allow us to select if we want to, right? So knowing that we have update here, we're then going to have we're going to stay in update first, right? And as we move on to the swallow function, right, update is always going to be equal to 1, right? And so once we press selection, so once selection is high, right, then update is going to be updated to 2. And then we're going to have our cost, right? And the cost is going to be different for each of these selections, right? So it's always going to be updated as we move on to the next state that we wish to choose before the confirmation, right? So once selection and update is equal to 1, then our LEDs are going to be updated, and our cost and update is going to be updated, these type of variables, right? And then, so now update is equal to 2, right? But selection is not being selected again, right? So now we're going to be held in this state, right? So now we're going to continuously be held in this state until we move on to the third update. How do we move on to the third update? Then we would have to be in the update 2. Well, update is equal to 2 here, right? So update would have to be equal to 2, and selection would have to be high, right? And so this process is continuously held, where after we would see here that this would be 0, 1. Uh, then we would then move on to 1, 0, and then we would move on to 1, 1, right? And so this is just this section here is just a clever way of staying within a state, either if selected if our variable selection is high, then we're going to stay within a certain state, right? Or if selection is low, then we're going to still stay in a specific state that we have not moved on to, but we have declared to stay stationary, right? Because selection has not been declared yet, if that makes sense. So this is just what select system is basically doing. And so the other thing that we want to make sure that we do once we do confirm and confirm is high is essentially return the cost, right? And yeah, once we do return the cost, then we do move on to our money system here. So money system here is is a little bit more complex, but this is just the second part of our vending machine here, right? So we're gonna of course start with our dollar amount, right? And 0, 0, right? And so as said previously, we are going to first want a confirm signal from the user that they had already confirmed the amount of cash that they inputted, right? So in this while loop, right, we're pretty much going to be reading for any dollars or quarters that the user is putting in, right? That is selecting, so when they're high, right? So if user dollar is high, then the dollar amount is going to be incremented, right? And then if the user is high, user quarter is high, then we're going to then add quarters, right, to our actual total dollar and quarter amount, right? And so from here, we would then total that amount of cash, right? And from our select system here, we returned a cost, right? So then we're gonna want to keep track of the cost of the item that the user has selected, right? And so we just take that difference and we receive the change, right? Um, and so then um, we then do this to take our change and find our change. This was for the remaining dollars and quarters, right? And so basically, what I have done here is I've allowed us to first sleep for zero point 0.5 seconds, right? A half of a second, and then play specific frequency, sleep for zero point 0.5 seconds, and then play specific frequency, right? To basically alert the user that there's going to be a specific flaring of the LEDs, right? That the change is going to come out, right? Um, and that's going to be alerted through the buzzer, right? So then we would essentially um, then flash the LEDs and at a slow pulse if we are um, uh, going to be giving a remaining dollar, right? If that is the case, right? So we're then going to give any sort of like remaining dollars, right? And then once we give any remaining dollars, if there is any remaining dollars, right? Then we would then pulse. We would send a sound again with these two different frequencies. That like, hey, we're gonna give some now quarters, right? And then we basically have here a faster pulse here because these times are just like cut in half essentially to signify like a faster pulse, right? Um, so yeah, so that is what we're doing here, and that would be basically signifying the remaining quarters that would be taken into account for as our change, right? For the user's change. And then after that, to show that we're done, we would then signify with a final frequency to alert the user. Okay, you're pretty much good to go, right? Um, and so yeah, and so this function pretty much implements the money system, but as well as we would see that it also incorporated the select system right here, right? So this pretty much covers both of the two functions that we want to use, right? This money system. So we would then just put this in our main. So we would just again identify the confirm signal, the input reading, and put the confirm signal into as a parameter for our money system here. And so the logic, I went over the logic repeatedly, and it seems like the logic does work out. Um, I guess the only thing I wish I could have heard was the frequencies for play sound to see if it played any unique patterns of like what I would want to hear, right? Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that, but if the logic does work here, then I think I do have a proper vending machine. But of course, as described earlier, my input signals was not being read properly for any sort of reason that I just cannot tell, as I've troubleshooted for quite some time, but there was no result. But anyways, that is my vending machine demo.